Dasa karuna kori. Oh hey Vaishnava Thakur, Doyara Sagara, Idase Karuna Kori. Diapada Chai, Shoro he amai, Tumara Charana Gori. Diapada Chaya, Shoro he amai, Tumara Charana Gori. Chaya Bega Dumi, Chaya Tosha Shoji, Chaya Guna Deho Dase. Chaya Bega Dumi, Chaya Tosha Shoji, Chaya Guna Deho Dase. Chaya Satsanga Deho he amare Boshashi Sangera Ashe. Chaya Satsanga Deho e amare Boshashi Sangera Ashe. Ekaki ama nahi pai bolo Harinama Sankirtane. Ekaki ama nahi pai balo Harinama Sankirtane. Ekaki ama nahi pai balo Harinama Sankirtane. Tumi kripa kori Sharabindu diya Deho Krishna namantane. Tumi kripa kori Sharabindu diya Deho Krishna namantane. Krishna se toma, Krishna dite paro, tomara shakti ache. Krishna se toma, Krishna dite paro, tomara shakti ache. Amrito Ganga Krishna 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 Boli Dayatava Pache Pache. Amito Ganga Krishna Krishna Boli Dayatava Pache Pache. Oh hey Vaishnava Thakur Doyara Sagar Itase Kori. Oh hey Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Ujjvala Varana Gorodela Viham Vilasita Niravari Bhava Videham. Ujjvala Varana Goravara Deham Vilasita Niravari Bhava Videham. Tribhuvana Pavana Kripayalesham Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Chaitanya. Gadgadam Tara Papa Vikaram Durjana Tarjana Nada Visalam. Bhava Bhaya Bhajana Karana Karunam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Chaitanyam. Aradam Bharadara Charu Kapolam Indu Vinindita Nakachaya Ruchiram. Jalpita Nijaguna Nama Vinodam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Chaitanya. Digalita Nayana Kamala Jaladaram Bhushana Navarasa Bhava Vikaram. Gati Ati Mantara Nritya Vilasam Tam pranamami cha Shri Sachitanaya. Chanchalu charu charana gati ruchiram Manjira ranjita pada juga madhuram. Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaura Hari Ki Jai. Chandra Vinindita Shitalavananam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Sachitanaya. Jatakati Dora Kamandalu Dandam Divyakalevara Mundita Mundam. Durjana Kalmasha Kandana Dandam Tam pranamami cha Shri Sachitanaya. Bhushana Bhuraja Lakavalitam Kampita Bindara Vararuchiram. Malaya Javira Chitta Ujjvala Tilakam Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Sachitanaya. Nindita Aruna Kamala Dalanayanam Ajanulam Pitta Shri Bhuja Jugalam. Kalevara Kaishora Nartakavesham Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Sachitanaya. Ujjvala Varana Pura Paradeham Vilasita Nirabari Bhava Videham. Tribhuvanapama Kupayalesham Tam Pranamami Cha Shri Sachitanayam. Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Gaura Hari. Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Gaura Hari. Jai Go Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Jai Gaura Hari Bo. Vibhavari Shesha Aloka Pravesha Nidrachari Utajiva Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva Nrsimhavamana Srimadusudana Brajendra Nandana Shyama Putana Katana Koitava Shatana Jaya Dasharati Rama Yashoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purandara Gopi Priya Jana Radhika Ramana Bhuvana Sundara Bhora Ravana Taskara Makana Taskara Gopi Jana Vastrahare Prajara Rakala Gopa Vrindabala Chittahare Vamshidhare Yogindra Bandana Shinandanandana Rajajana Bayahari Navina Nirada Rupa Manohara Mohana Vamshi Vihari Navina Nirada Yashoda Nandana Kamsa Nishudana Nikunjara Savilase Ananda Varanda Prema Niketana Kulashara Jojakama Gopangana Gana Chitta Vinodana Samasta Guna Gana Dhamma Jamuna Jivana Keliparayana Manasa Chandra Chakora jasha Rakho vachanama namora Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Premanande.
अमर जीवन सदपपिरत नहि को पुण्य लेश नहि को पुण्य अमर जीवन सदपपिरत नहि को पुण्य
divine service, please. That's okay. Just going to chant shlokas. Yasuvacha iti samprashna samrishto vipranam brahmaharshini pratipuja vachastesham pravaktum upachakrame sutuvacha yam pravachantam anupetam apetya krityam dvaipayano viraha kartara ajuhava putreti tanmayataya taravo binedus tam sarva bhuta hridayam munim anatosmi yaksvanubhavam akila shuti saramekam adhyatmadipam atitirshatam tamondham samsarinam karunayaha purana kuhyam tam vyasa sunum upayami gurum muninam Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye munayak sadprishtoham bhavadbhirlokamangalam yakrita krishna samprasno yinatma suprasidati savai pumsam paro dharmo Yato bhaktir adhoksaje ahaitu kiya pratyata yayatma suprasidati vasudeve bhagavati bhakti yoga prayojitaha janayatya shivairagyam jnanam chayadahaitukam dharma shvanushtita pumsam vishvaksena katasuya Notpada yedyadirating Shrama eve hi kevalam Dharmasya hyapavargasya Nartorta yokapalpate Nartasya dharmaikantasya Kamolabhaya hismitaha Kamasya nendriya pritir Labo jiveta yavata Jivasya tattva jignasya narto yascheha karmabhi vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yajnanamadvayam rameti paramatmeti bhagavan niti shabdate tashradhana munayo jnana vairagya yuktaya pashyantyatmani chatmanam Bhaktya Shruta Grihitaya Atapumbir Dvija Shreshta Varnashrama Vibhagasha Shvanustistasya Dharmasya Samsadir Haritoshanam Tasmadekena Manasa Bhagavan Sattva-tampati Shotavya Kirtitavyascha Dheya pujascha nityada Yad anudyasina yukta Karma kranti nibandhanam Chindanti kovidastasya Kona kuryat kataratim Shushusho shradhanasya Vasudeva kataruchi Syan mahatsevaya vipra Punyatirtha Nishevanad Shinvatam Swakata Krishna Punyashravana Kirtana Ridyantaksto Hyabhadrani Pitunoti Suhritsatam Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Tada rajastamo bhava kama loba dayaschaye cheta iter anavidham Stitam sattve prasidati. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha. Bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Vidyate hridaya grantish chijante sarva samshaya. Shiyante chasya karmani drishta evatmanishvare. Ato vai kavayo nityam bhaktim paramaya muda. Vasudeve bhagavati kurvantyatma prasadanim. Sattvam rajastama iti prakritir gunasthair. Yukta para purusha eka ihasyatate. Stityadaye hari varinchi hareti sangya. Sheyam si tattva kalu tattva tanodranam suhu. Parthiva dharano tumas tasmadagnis trayimayaha. Tabasastura justasmad sattvam yad brahma darshanam. Bijare munayo tagre bhagavantam adhoksajam. Sattvam vishuddham shemaya kalpante ye nutaniha. Mumokshava koda rupam ipa bhuta patinata. Narayana kalashanta bhajanti yanusuyava. Rajastama prakritaya samashila bhajanti vai. Pitrir bhuta prajeshadin Shri Aishvarya prajepsavaha. Vasudeva paraveda Vasudeva paramakaha. Vasudeva parayoga Vasudeva parakriyaha. Vasudeva param yanam Vasudeva parantapaha. Vasudeva parodharmo Vasudeva paragatihi. Sa evedam sasarjagre Bhagavanatma mayaya. Sarasadrupaya chasau Gunamaya guno vibhu. Taya vilashiteshveshu Guneshu gunavaniva. Antak pravishta abhati Vijnanena vrajrimbrita. Yata yavahito bhanir Darushveka sayonishu. Naneva bhati vishvatma Bhuteshu chatatapuman. Asau gunamayer bhaver Bhuta sukshmendriyatmabi. Swanirmiteshu nirvishto Bhukte bhuteshu tadgunan. Bhavayadyeshu satvena Lokan vai lokabhavana. Lilava taranurato Devatiryandaradishu. Iti Srimad Bhagavate Mahapurane Paramahamsyam Samitayam Pratamaskande Naimishyo Prakyane Dvitiyodhyayaha. Hari Om. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Bol. Hare Hare. We'll read some Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, this middle one. Thank you. Thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Balaba Jaya Kiri Varadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Balaba Jaya Giri Varadhari Jaya Jashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Jashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Girivaradhari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai go Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai go Hari Bo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're continuing our reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're on the second canto, second chapter, 32nd verse. And Shukadeva Goswami is speaking. Yes. You need pen? Oh. 232. Your Majesty, Maharaj Parikshit, know that all that I have described in reply to your proper inquiry is just according to the version of the Vedas, and it is eternal truth. This was described personally by Lord Krishna unto Brahma, with whom the Lord was satisfied upon being properly worshipped. The two different ways of reaching the spiritual sky and thereby getting emancipation from all material bondage, namely either the direct process of reaching the kingdom of God or the gradual process through the other higher planets of the universe, are set forth exactly according to the version of the Vedas. The Vedic versions in this connection are Yada sarve pramuchante kama yesya hridi shrita ata martyo mrito bhavatyatra rama samashnute. From the Brihat Aranyaka Upanishad. From where? And Terachir Abhisam Bhavanti. From the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad again. Quote, those who are free from all material desires, which are diseases of the heart, are able to conquer death and enter the kingdom of God through the Archi planets. These Vedic versions corroborate the version of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the latter is further confirmed by Shukadeva Goswami, who affirms that the truth was disclosed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, Vasudeva, to Brahma, the first authority on the Vedas. The disciplic succession holds that the Vedas were uttered by Lord Krishna to Brahma, by Brahma to Narada, and by Narada to Vyasadeva, and then by Vyasadeva to Shukadeva Goswami, and so on. So there is no difference between the versions of all the authorities. The truth is eternal, and as such, there cannot be any new opinion about the truth. That is the way of knowing the knowledge contained in the Vedas. It is not a thing to be understood by one's erudite scholarship or by the fashionable interpretations of mundane scholars. Could please look up erudite. There is nothing to be added and nothing to be subtracted, because the truth is the truth. One has to accept, after all, some authority. The modern scientists are also authorities for the common man for some scientific truths. The common man follows the version of the scientist. This means that the common man follows the authority. The Vedic knowledge is also received in that way. The common man cannot argue about what is beyond the sky or beyond the universe. He must accept the versions of the Vedas as they are understood by the authorized disciplic succession. In the Bhagavad Gita also, the same process of understanding the Gita is stated in the 4th chapter. If one does not follow the authoritative version of the acharyas, he will vainly search after the truth mentioned in the Vedas. Erudite means? Microphones? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Erudite is an adjective having or showing great knowledge or learning. And the etymology for it says it's from the early 15th century, learned, well instructed, from Latin eruditus, learned, accomplished, well informed, past participle of erudire, to educate, teach, instruct, polish, literally to bring out of the rough, from assimilated form of ex, which means out, and rudis, unskilled, rough, unlearned.
Rudis means?
Rudis means unskilled, rough, unlearned.
And the two go together?
Yes.
How? How do you get learned from unskilled and unlearned? Is it X?
Yeah.
Like it's canceling it.
Yeah. X.
Okay. What's the the prefix? Air, which means not?
Which means, wait. Or X means out.
Okay. And that turns into air?
Yeah.
Erudite. Not, so it's saying you're not unskilled. Erudite, right? Okay, thank you. Erudites, it sounds like a kind of god or something, or a goddess, doesn't it? Is it a capital eruditus when it says that? Text number 33. Yes? No. No. For those who are wandering in the material universe, there is no more auspicious means of deliverance than what is aimed at the direct devotional service of Lord Krishna. As will be clarified in the next verse, devotional service or direct bhakti yoga is the only absolute and auspicious means of deliverance from the grip of material existence. There are many indirect methods for deliverance from the clutches of material existence, but none of them is as easy and auspicious as bhakti yoga. The means of jnana and yoga and other allied disciplines are not independent in delivering a performer. Such activities help one to reach the stage of bhakti yoga after many, many years. In the Bhagavad Gita 12.5, it is said that those who are attached to the impersonal feature of the Absolute are liable to many troubles in the pursuit of their desired goal. And the empiricist philosophers searching after the absolute truth realized the importance of Vasudeva realization as all in all after many, many births. As far as yoga systems are concerned, it is also said in the Bhagavad Gita 6.47 that amongst the mystics who pursue the absolute truth, the one who is always engaged in the service of the Lord is the greatest of all. And the last instruction of the Bhagavad Gita 1866 advises fully surrendering unto the Lord, leaving aside all other engagements or different processes for self-realization and liberation from material bondage. And the purport of all Vedic literatures is to induce one to accept the transcendental loving service of the Lord by all means. As already explained in the texts of Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, either direct bhakti yoga or the means which ultimately culminate in bhakti yoga without any tinge or fruit of activity constitutes the highest form of religion. Everything else is simply a waste of time for the performer. Srila Sridhar Swami and all other acharyas like Jiva Goswami agree that bhakti yoga is the only easy, simple, natural, and Srila Sridhar Swami and all other acharyas like Jiva Goswami agree that bhakti yoga is not only easy, simple, natural, and free from trouble, but there's a period instead of a comma, but is the only source of happiness for the human being. That might be a good addition to the presentation, that this teaches an easy, simple, natural, and free from trouble form. And it's the only source of happiness for the human being. 34. The great personality Brahma, with great attention and concentration of the mind, studied the Vedas 3 times, and after scrutinizingly examining them, he ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna is the highest perfection of religion. What's the highest perfection of religion? Correct. Sri Shukadev Goswami is referring to the highest Vedic authority, Lord Brahma, who is the qualitative incarnation of Godhead. The Vedas were taught to Brahmaji in the beginning of the material creation. Although Brahmaji was to hear Vedic instructions directly from the personality of Godhead, in order to satisfy the inquisitiveness of all prospective students of the Vedas, Brahmaji, just like a scholar, studied the Vedas 3 times, and as generally done by all scholars. He studied with great attention, concentrating on the purpose of the Vedas, and after scrutinizingly examining the whole process, he ascertained that becoming a pure unalloyed devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna is the topmost perfection of all religious principles. And this is the last instruction of the Bhagavad Gita directly presented by the Personality of Godhead. The Vedic conclusion is thus accepted by all acharyas, and those who are against this conclusion are only Vedavada Ratas, as explained in the Bhagavad Gita 242. Bhagavan Sarva Bhuteshu, everyone please say. Lakshita Swatmana Hari Drishyer Buddhyadi Birdrashta Lakshanayar Anu Mapakahe. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Sarva, all, Bhuteshu, in the living entities, Lakshita, is visible, Swaatmana, along with the self, Hari, the Lord, Drishyai, by what is seen, Buddhi Adibi, by intelligence, Drashta, one who sees, Lakshanai, by different signs, Anumapakai, by hypotheses. By hypothesis. I said hypotheses, sorry. So now, if you can try this for a minute, to listen to this verse and purport, you want to close your eyes and meditate on the verse. Can you do it? Okay, no sleeping. Okay, close your eyes. Just focus, concentrate. The personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is in every living being, along with the individual soul. And this fact is perceived and hypothesized in our acts of seeing and taking help from the intelligence. The general argument of the common man is that since the Lord is not visible to our eyes, how can one either surrender unto him or render transcendental loving service unto him? To such a common man, here is a practical suggestion given by Srila Shukadeva Goswami as to how one can perceive the Supreme Lord by reason and perception. Actually, the Lord is not perceivable by our present materialized senses, but when one is convinced of the presence of the Lord by a practical service attitude, there is a revelation by the Lord's mercy. And such a pure devotee of the Lord can perceive the Lord's presence always and everywhere. He can perceive that intelligence is the form direction of the Paramatma plenary portion of the personality of Godhead. The presence of Paramatma in everyone's company is not very difficult to realize, even for the common man. Okay, get ready. The procedure is as follows. Now, follow this as you hear it. One can perceive one's self-identification and feel positively that he exists. He may not feel it very abruptly, but by using a little intelligence, he can feel that he is not the body. He can feel that the hand, the leg, the head, the hair, and the limbs are all his bodily parts and parcels. But as such, the hand, the leg, the head, etc., cannot be identified with his self. Therefore, just by using intelligence, he can distinguish and separate his self from other things that he sees. So the natural conclusion is that the living being, either man or beast, is the seer, and he sees besides himself all other things. So there is a difference between the seer and the seen. Now, by a little use of intelligence, we can also readily agree that the living being who sees the things beyond himself by ordinary vision has no power to see or to move independently. All our ordinary actions and perceptions depend on various forms of energy supplied to us by nature in various combinations. Our senses of perception and of action, that is to say, our 5 perceptive senses of 1, hearing, 2, touch, 3, sight, 4, taste, and 5, smell, as well as our 5 senses of action, namely 1, hands, 2, legs, 3, speech, 4, evacuation organs, and 5, reproductive organs, and also our 3 subtle senses, namely 1, mind, 2, intelligence, and 3, ego, 13 senses in all, are supplied to us by various arrangements of gross and subtle forms of energy. And it is equally evident that our objects of perception are nothing but the products of the inexhaustible permutations and combinations of the forms taken by material energy. As this conclusively proves that the ordinary living being has no independent power of perception or of motion, and as we undoubtedly feel our existence being conditioned by nature's energy, we conclude that he who sees is spirit and that the senses as well as the objects of perception are material. Let's just review what we just heard for a second of Brahma. How was it closing your eyes and listening? Was it harder or easier? It was harder? Sorry. What did you glean from what we just read? It's kind of an exercise he's offering to anyone to be able to perceive the supersoul as the intelligence. Were there any points that struck you? Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
The point which struck me was, at one point, it was in the beginning, it was mentioned that when someone has service attitude, then the Lord reveals himself to that person. So that was something.
Service attitude. Yeah, that was a powerful point. What else did you get out of this? Yes.
And I think there was one line about the intelligence. You can sense that it is, like a direction from the Lord.
Form direction of the supersoul. So if you can observe your intelligence coming to you, you can see that's coming from supersoul. Anyone could do that, right? Yes.
In school, we had this, like in college, we had this like self-care workshop thing that we were required, or like some people were required to attend. And what they were talking about was meditation, like silent meditation with like breath work, and how once you continue breathing quietly, you're able to quiet your mind and listen to your inner intuition. And they were saying how like trust your intuition, you already know like what you need, etc. And that just like really shows Paramatma's power, because that intuition, when everyone says trust your intuition or your intelligence, that's actually when you take the time to listen to Paramatma.
Nice. Yeah. Hardly anyone does take the time, you just take it for granted, right? So taking a moment to observe it and objectify it is important.
So I have one reflection and one question. So my reflection is based on Avantika's point. So I was thinking that, when you told us to close the eyes and then think that, the body parts are not me. And it's so amazing to realize that, you are different. The body is different from who you are. And just by doing this exercise, one can realize that. So this was one. And then my question is that, so there were, when you read seers, I think Prabhupada was mentioning the first seer is you yourself, and then there's the second seer who's the super soul, right? I was not sure about what is seen here. Is it I think in the last line, was he referring to the seen as the super soul? The object, where he mentioned that it's an object. So what was exactly that? Can you please?
In that context, it's a parallel to the verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Kshetrajnam chapimam vidhi sarva kshetri shubharata, Kshetra kshetrajnayor jnanam yatach jnanam matam mama, that there's, Krishna's describing how there are two conscious beings within the field, which is material, and they're both seers. In other words, both of them have cognition. That's how, in that context, it means there are two seers in one body. They're both seeing. They both have the capability of seeing, is how I take it in that context.
But what was seen?
Seeing?
Yeah, seer. There was seen also, right? The object. Object is Lord here.
Could we hear the section you're referring to again?
The last line, I guess. Last two lines, probably.
Okay. As this conclusively proves that the ordinary living being has no independent power of perception or of motion, and as we undoubtedly feel our existence being conditioned by nature's energy, we conclude that he who sees is spirit, and that the senses as well as the objects of perception are material. Was that it?
Somewhere there was the seen as well, so I was confused whether seen is the super soul or something else.
Okay, we'll see if you can find it.
Yes.
And the other, in that context, he who sees is spirit means one who has the capability of seeing, because matter doesn't see. We objectify matter. Yes. Two more and then we'll go on.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, a question. You mentioned, we read that the Lord comes with the individual soul. Yes, my understanding as a Paramatma. So when we focus on the name of the Lord, it is called bhakti. But when a person focuses on Paramatma, it is not considered bhakti rather than dhyan yoga. is my understanding. But, it is said it's the same four-armed form of Vishnu or Krishna. So, I don't understand why is it not bhakti? Just maybe a technical question. Because I feel anyone concentrating on the form of the Lord is bhakti. Just curious.
We're all seeing the form of the Lord either in the shape of the Virat Rupa or the Paramatma, or some are seeing Krishna directly as Kishore and Shyam Sundar. But it's dependent on the attitude of the seer. So there's Paramatma, but the mood of those who see Paramatma or have relationship with Paramatma, the idea is that I want my maintenance. And the Paramatma is controlling the material nature and reciprocating the desires of the living entity in the material world. So when a yogi is meditating on Paramatma, there's an element of bhakti, and Prabhupada pointed that out in the previous purport, that you can't be successful in dhyan or gyan or karma without having an element of bhakti. That's the active ingredient, like in a mint. You got all these fillers and then you say active ingredient, menthol. So the active ingredient for any kind of process is the bhakti. But there's different degrees of bhakti. And in the progression of the Shikshashtakam, you find Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying, na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha. Jagadisha kamaya. Jagadisha means, oh Lord of the universe, I don't want anything anymore. Like that's the relationship with the living entities and Paramatma in the material world is gimme, gimme, gimme. And Paramatma is supplying everything. And now Mahaprabhu is saying, I don't want anything anymore. So it's wholly dependent on the eyes of the beholder, because there's no difference between Paramatma and Krishna except the mood. Because when a person develops a mood of pure love, all for Krishna, I don't want anything, then premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santaksadeva hridayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sundaram achintya guna swarupam govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. He's not seeing four-armed Paramatma, he's seeing Shamasundar, Krishna. And if you look at the picture of Hanuman, you see around him, because he's going like this, you don't see Paramatma inside. Who do you see? Sita Ram. And so it's the mood of the devotee, and then Krishna reciprocates by showing himself in a particular way, according to how we approach him. Ye yata mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanavartante manusya partasarvasha. Hare Krishna. Okay, last one.
We have one from Zoom also.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Yes, Devarata, good to see you.
Nice to be seen.
Are you in Alaska? Where are you?
I'm in Utah. Close,
Utah, okay.
nearby. So I was listening to Prabhupada Memories yesterday, and Govinda Dasi was mentioning that there was this time they were on the beach in Hawaii, and the crabs were crawling out, and then they kind of scurried back into their home. And Prabhupada said, you see, the scientists, they're all saying that this is instinct, but actually it's just like this. If you come into this house and you know where the restroom is, and then 20 years later you come back, and then you know where that same restroom is. Similarly, when you're born in the womb, and then you take birth from the womb, the first thing you do is you go looking for your mother's breast to be fed. So there's two things that are existing: the experience of the living entity and the guidance of the Paramatma. And so Govinda Dasi says that when Prabhupada was talking about this, she had this profound realization that actually this whole idea of instinct, she'd been raised as a Darwinist for her entire life, and she didn't even know it. But actually the entire world is being guided by the Paramatma and the living entity's experience with the world previously. And so hearing this purport was kind of rehashing that realization. And I thought when Govinda Dasi said that, I thought it was just so profound how we're just all being guided by the input of the Paramatma at every moment. And it's something that can be easily overlooked. But if one, just like Prabhupada says in the purport, if one uses a little bit of intelligence, they can see how they're being guided every moment by a higher intelligence, and it's being provided to them.
Nice. Sadhu, sadhu. Well done. Beautiful.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I was appreciating the point that Prabhupada is mentioning. The first step in the procedure of self-identification of Paramatma is to feel positively that one exists. And so I think it was during Janmashtami you were asked this question that is Krishna real? And your first statement was, well, first you can say, are you real? Do you exist? So I was trying to connect then.
Yeah. How can you prove that you exist? Can you prove it? You can't really prove it empirically that, yeah, I exist. Otherwise you'll circular reasoning. See, I'm here, right? It's like you can't use the same thing to prove what you're trying to, an element of the same thing to prove it. But you know you exist because it's self-evident that when you wake up in the morning, it's like, yeah, I'm here. I can see. I can experience. Yeah, it's an important point because it's not something that can be, it is something that's self-effulgent and self-revealing. Okay, last one.
Maharaj, the first statement of the purport, I think I'm paraphrasing because I had my eyes closed, but it was mentioning that everybody wants to see the Lord. Everybody wants to see the Lord in a paraphrased way, but actually the experience of God revealing yourself is the Paramatma feature who's there in your heart. So I was meditating on the two verses in Bhagavad Gita towards the end, 1861 and 62. And Lord says that actually one should meditate on the Paramatma, or one should establish his relationship with the Paramatma, who's giving you the direction. So it's not that the Lord does not want us to have a relationship with Paramatma. So even in Bhakti Yoga, before we go to the final conclusion, he says that in that section, that Paramatma you have to realize the Paramatma. He has to be there. So God consciousness includes Paramatma realization, isn't it, Maharaj? So that's what I was meditating because Prabhupada says in the first line of that purport.
Sure. In fact, one of the stories that Krishna tells to Uddhava in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam is about the Avadhuta Brahmana, and Krishna points out that the Avadhuta Brahmana was taking direct instruction from the supersoul through the intelligence. And that if one purifies one's intelligence, then the intelligence acts as one's Shikshaguru, as Krishna is there instructing from within. And later Uddhava prays to Krishna, saying, I can never repay you because you appear in my heart as the Chaitya Guru, and externally then you manifest as the Guru who lights the path externally as well. And you're always there in those various forms, inwardly and outwardly, to guide me on your own path. Thank you. Okay, really last one.
Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj, I just wanted to remind myself because I forgot. If God is inside us and He's guiding us and He's outside us and guiding us, why do we need both? Can I just be happy with God inside me? Like the Avadhuta Brahmana was sitting there and he was
Well, there's
happy.
the book Bhagavata and there's the person Bhagavat, and there's no difference between the two, except for the person Bhagavata can grab you by the ear and say, hey, read the book. And similarly, the supersoul within, I may be so zoned out and looking at a screen somewhere, and then the Guru said, hey, ring the bell, wake up, time to go to Artik. So there's a practical way that the external manifestation of the supersoul works. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also says about the Guru that there's a way that one's relating locally to the Guru. In other words, we see, oh, this person's like a friend. There's, is there with me. it's easier to see and to feel because it's natural in our relationships in the world that we have them externally. And we may not always hear the supersoul, but when we have a relationship with Guru, then we're feeling that guidance externally, and then it harmonizes with the inner voice. And we say, oh yeah, same voice, saying same thing. Like also reading Bhagavad Gita. Reading that, and then you say, yeah, that's the same thing, hopefully, that I'm hearing. In other words, it resonates. That's why when people read the Bhagavad Gita, they say, oh, yeah, this is real. I can feel this, because Supersoul is also saying, I told you this before. And then it's there it's all written out for you. Okay, yeah, really, really last one.
Because we were trying to see the difference in super soul and the Lord outside or the Guru. So I was thinking one difference I could think of is that we can serve the Guru or the Lord if he's outside, but Paramatma, he's doing everything for us. We can't do any service to the Paramatma. So I just thought of that.
Yeah, that's nice. And it's also mentioned that Krishna is always trying to serve his devotee, but devotees don't want any service from Krishna. So if you can serve the devotee, then Krishna becomes pleased. And so there's definitely that service attitude. You can bring a glass of water, or you can, hold on to the mission of the Guru. And it's very practical, tangible. Thank you. It's important. Okay. The spiritual quality of the seer is manifest in our dissatisfaction with the limited state of materially conditioned existence. You don't have to keep your eyes closed since the experiment. That is the difference between matter and spirit. It's one of my favorite two sentences in Prabhupada's books. The spiritual quality of the seer is manifest in our dissatisfaction with the limited state of materially conditioned existence. That is the difference between spirit and matter. There are some less intelligent arguments that matter develops the power of seeing and moving as a certain organic development, but such an argument cannot be accepted because there is no experimental evidence that matter has anywhere produced a living entity. Trust no future, however pleasant. Idle talks regarding future development of matter into spirit are actually foolish, because no matter has ever developed the power of seeing or moving in any part of the world. Therefore, it is definite that matter and spirit are two different identities, and this conclusion is arrived at by the use of intelligence. Now we come to the point that the things which are seen by a little use of intelligence cannot be animate unless we accept someone as the higher authority. And the living being cannot see or move or eat or do anything without use of intelligence. When one fails to take advantage of intelligence, he becomes a deranged man. And so a living being is dependent on intelligence or the direction of a superior being. Such intelligence is all-pervading. Every living being has his intelligence. And this intelligence, being the direction of some higher authority, is just like a father giving direction to his son. The higher authority, who is present and residing within every individual being, is the superself. At this point of our investigation, we may consider the following question. On the one hand, we realize that all our perceptions and activities are conditioned by arrangements of material nature, yet we also ordinarily feel and say, I am perceiving, or I am doing. Therefore, we can say that our material senses of perception and action are moving because we are identifying the self with the material body, and that the superior principle of superself is guiding and supplying us according to our desire. By taking advantage of the guidance of superself in the form of intelligence, we can either continue to study and to put into practice our conclusion that I am not this body, or we can choose to remain in the false material identification, fancying ourselves to be the possessors and doers. Our freedom consists in orienting our desire either toward the ignorant material misconception or the true spiritual conception. We can easily attain to the true spiritual conception by recognizing the superself, Paramatma, to be our friend and guide, and by dovetailing our intelligence with the superior intelligence of Paramatma. The superself and the individual self are both spirit, and therefore the superself and the individual self are both qualitatively one and distinct from matter. But the superself and the individual self cannot be on an equal level, because the superself gives direction or supplies intelligence, and the individual self follows the direction, and thus actions are performed properly. The individual is completely dependent on the direction of the superself, because in every step the individual self follows the direction of the superself in the matter of seeing, hearing, thinking, feeling, willing, etc. You know, in a kirtan, where you're going along and then there's the third part where the kirtan really comes where alive you're able to elevate a little more. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. You know that part? That's this part in the purport. Coming up next, this last part. Ready? So far as common sense is concerned, we come to the conclusion that there are three identities, namely matter, spirit, and superspirit. Now, if we go to the Bhagavad Gita, or the Vedic intelligence, we can further understand that there are three identities, namely matter, individual spirit, and the superspirit. All are dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The superself is a partial representation or plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Bhagavad Gita affirms that the Supreme Personality of Godhead dominates all over the material world by his partial representation only. God is great, and he cannot be simply an order supplier of the individual selves. Therefore, the superself cannot be a full representation of the Supreme Self, Purushottam, the absolute personality of Godhead. Realization of the superself by the individual self is the beginning of self-realization, and by the progress of such self-realization, one is able to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead by intelligence, by the help of authorized scriptures, and principally by the grace of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Haribol. The Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary conception of the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the further explanation of the science of Godhead. So if we stick to our determination and pray for the mercy of the director of intelligence sitting within the same bodily tree, like a bird sitting with another bird, as explained in the Upanishads, certainly the purport of the revealed information of the Vedas becomes clear to our vision, and there is no difficulty in realizing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. The intelligent man, therefore, after many births of such use of intelligence, surrenders himself at the lotus feet of Vasudeva, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 7:19. Bravo! Sadhu, sadhu. So the logic in the last part is that the Supreme Personality, would anybody like to reflect it back? How Prabhupada leads to the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Yes, Prabhu.
The one statement that I remember from the last paragraph was, he said the three entities, matter, spirit, and the super spirit, are dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Right. And yes, Sundarananda Prabhu.
Prabhupada talks about how the Supreme Personality of Godhead He just cannot be just an order supplier, and that there is more to the personality of Godhead, and that's how distinguishes between the super spirit and the supreme personality of God.
Yeah. So Prabhupada takes us to this point of understanding that there is a super spirit who's guiding us, but then because God has his own life, he can't just be there like, hey, I need another order of fries. There has to be the full-fledged personality of Godhead, so we can understand logically that that's not all. There's more. There's God with his own life, not simply attending to the desires of the conditioned soul. Yes?
Guru Maharaj, if the Paramatma in my heart is a partial expansion, and then the Lord we see on the altar is also an expansion, when do I as a devotee really realize the Supreme? When do I know I've got to Bhagavan?
That's explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Samoham sarvabhuteshu nami dveshosti napriya ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mai te teshu chapyaham. So this verse has two halves. And the first half is describing what we heard in the first section of this purport, and that is Samoham sarvabhuteshu. Krishna says, I'm just equal to everybody. Whatever you want, I'm arranging. You want to be a pig? I'll make you a pig. You want to... and so that's the relationship with the super spirit in the material world. But when you get your bhajan on, ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya. So when you get enlivened by Lord Chaitanya's representative, and then you say, okay, now I know God has a personal form, he has desires, he has senses, I want to please his senses. That's bhajan. And you start to do activities to please Krishna's senses. Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya, you become a devotee. Then what happens is, Krishna says, I'm in you and you're in me. Now that's unusual, because if you look at the beginning of the 9th chapter, Krishna says, there's everything, but I'm not in it. It's going on. It's all me, but I'm also aloof. But when bhakti starts, then he says, I'm in there. I'm completely in. And you're in me, I'm in you. We're inseparable. And so that's the change of heart that's being talked about in this a chapter by Shukadeva Goswami. It's a gradual progression he's taking us through. We have some relationship with God. We don't even know it. And then he says, look at nature. It's organized. See how the flowers start popping up when the sun comes up? So how's that happening? And then you start to feel like, yeah, there's a divine intelligence, super spirit in the whole world. You feel all-pervading existence. You say, no, it's actually personal. To see the hairs on the body, it's the trees and then the veins, or the rivers and the birds. That's obviously an artist did that. There's no other explanation for that. And so then you start thinking, yeah, person. And you say, yeah, he's in here. And he's like this. And then when there's this mood of, I want to serve him. How can I serve him? Then, ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya, maite teshu chapyaham. Then the relationship changes. Just like Arjuna, we watched him change his relationship with Krishna all of a sudden. We can change our relationship with Krishna by, instead of being like a little baby, I want everything for me. Then when the kid grows up and thinks, wow, my parents they really sacrificed for me. Not only that, they're pretty intelligent, pretty cool. And, let me do something for them now. And the relationship changes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I have two small questions. So one is, when we think that I want to see Krishna, and some devotee said I want to have his darshan, and then some devotee says we shouldn't bother Krishna just for ourselves and he has to take trouble, whatever. Is it right mood? Like, can we desire that I want to have his, like, I can see Krishna, or is it right mood, or how is it?
Is it a disturbance to Krishna to want to see him and say, please?
Like, if I want to, like, see, if I desire that I want to, please give me darshan, and then some devotee said, it's not Shuddha, we shouldn't bother Krishna for darshan, we shouldn't ask for darshan, like, I want to see Krishna, then Krishna has to, is it right to ask? Like,
well, it's not wrong to want to see God. It's better than not wanting to see him or saying there is no God. But the concept of darshan, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur fine-tuned for us. So darshan doesn't mean that I go to see Krishna and I want to see him, but it means I want to work in such a way that he sees me. And so Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, to be demonstrative about this, came to the temple and he would not wear his glasses. He couldn't see that far without his glasses. And they say, Guru Maharaj, you need your glasses to see the deity. You say, no, I'm here for them to see me. Just like Devavrata said, good to be seen. That's the mood of the devotee. Not that, come on, Krishna, show yourself. But of course, we need to see Krishna. We need to see the deity. Otherwise, our eyes will go somewhere else. In fact, I wrote it down, or somebody wrote it down in a little book yesterday, that this liberation means to be free from attraction to anything else except for Krishna. And so how are we going to get that unless we want to see Krishna? And devotees of Krishna will travel, like you see in India. You go on pilgrimage, you meet these pilgrims. All the money they have in the world, they put it together, and then they traveled to Govardhan Hill so the kids could do Dandavat Parikrama around instead of going to Disneyland. And they came to see God. Everywhere they come to see Krishna, and it's really important. So that's not wrong, but the mood is that work in such a way that Krishna will see you and be in the mood that he'll be looking at you. And when he looks at you, then your life is complete. What else do you need?
thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. And the other question is, when you said purify our intelligence, so by doing bhakti, chanting and seva, then that's the best way to purify our intelligence, correct?
Correct. So we heard in the last paragraph, Prabhupada referred to the Bhagavad Gita as the Vedic intelligence. So he also says, does Krishna, at the end of the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, by hearing this dialogue, studying it, you are worshiping me by your intelligence. And when we worship Krishna by our intelligence, by reading Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, the intelligence becomes purified. It doesn't come up with stupid ideas anymore. Or when it does, then you hear, Ye Shastra Vinamutstrija Vartate Kamakarata Nasas Siramavapnoti Nasukam Naparam Gatim. If you do that, you're not going to get the goal, you're not going to get happiness, And so you're guided careful by Krishna's potent words in the Bhagavad Gita. Your intelligence becomes sharp like that. Okay, a couple more.
Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Dhanavari, for your excellent questions. O King, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, always and everywhere. Srila Shukadev Goswami begins this verse with the word tasmad, or therefore, because in the previous verse he has already explained that there is no auspicious means for salvation other than the sublime process of bhakti yoga. The bhakti yoga process is practiced by the devotees in different methods like hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, worshiping, praying, rendering service in love, becoming friendly, and offering all that one may possess. All 9 methods are bona fide methods, and either of them, some of them, or even one of them can bring about the desired result for the sincere devotee. But out of all the 9 different methods, the first one, namely hearing, is the most important function in the process of bhakti yoga. Without hearing sufficiently and properly, no one can make any progress by any of the methods of practice. And for hearing only, all the Vedic literatures are there, compiled by authorized persons like Vyasadeva, who is the powerful incarnation of Godhead. And since it has been ascertained that the Lord is the supersoul of everything, he should therefore be heard and glorified everywhere and always. That is the special duty of the human being. When the human being gives up the process of hearing about the all-pervading personality of Godhead, he becomes victim to hearing rubbish transmitted by man-made machines. Machinery is not bad, because through the machine one can take advantage of hearing about the Lord. But because machinery is used for ulterior purposes, it is creating rapid degradation in the standard of human civilization. It is said here that it is incumbent upon the human beings to hear, because the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are made for that purpose. Living beings other than human beings have no ability to hear such Vedic literatures. If human society gives itself to the process of hearing the Vedic literatures, it will not become a victim to the impious sounds, that's a good phrase, vibrated by impious men who degrade the standards of the total society. God, that's so pertinent, isn't it? Oh, may I read it again? Okay, 3 people, everyone else cover your ears. If human society gives itself to the process of hearing the Vedic literature, it will not become a victim to the impious sounds vibrated by impious men who degrade the standards of the total society. Huh? These things are going on. Hearing is solidified by the process of chanting. One who has perfectly heard from the perfect source becomes convinced about the all-pervading personality of Godhead and thus becomes enthusiastic in glorifying the Lord. All the great acharyas like Ramanuja, Madhva, Chaitanya, Saraswati Thakur, or even in other countries, Muhammad, Christ, and others, have all extremely glorified the Lord by chanting always and in every place. Because the Lord is all-pervading, it is essential to glorify Him always and everywhere. In the process of glorifying the Lord, there should be no restriction of time and space. This is called Sanatan Dharma or Bhagavata Dharma. Sanatan means eternal, always and everywhere. Bhagavata means pertaining to Bhagavan, the Lord. The Lord is the master of all time and all space, and therefore the Lord's holy name must be heard, glorified, and remembered everywhere in the world. That will bring about the desired peace and prosperity so eagerly awaited by the people of the world. The word cha includes all the remaining processes or methods of bhakti yoga as mentioned above. Navina Narada Prabhu, would you like to give a commentary or say anything of any kind? So nice to have you here.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
The process works and the sound vibration is doing its job. From hearing from the right source for a very long time is recommended, and abstaining from sound vibration that is increasing our material propensities, our material attachments, is recommended. So thank you for keeping the spiritual sound vibration going and reminding us of our higher purpose. We're all in service separation, remembering our readings in Govardhan. But bhakti is absolute, so there is no lacking. And that separation is very sweet. So thank you for keeping it going.
Thank you, Prabhu. But wherever it's going on, that's always where you are. Something I've noticed. But how was it in Govardhan? What's it like there during Kartik hearing and chanting? Do you have any memories of that kind of experiment we've been doing there for the last 20 years?
It's a yajna, it's a sacrifice. So there's some heat being generated and felt on the mark when we have that part of the yajna, and then also the hearing and the interacting with devotees. And everything that's superfluous becomes eliminated because there's simply no time or energy. So it is a blessing to be engaged in that Sankirtan Yajna. It refines our consciousness, our persona. I always felt like I'm walking out there a different person than when I arrived.
Thank you, Prabhu. And it's just your statement at the end about how it can be done anywhere, at any time, place is really what this verse is saying. It's one of those just add water products. You know, there's a lot of them they use for backpacking. You just add water. You've got yourself whatever it is. It just reconstitutes. And with the hearing process, wherever one may be, if you set up a forum for hearing, as Navina Nirad Prabhu, I noticed you said for a long time, here for a long enough time, then there's a way that you feel the transformation, which is really important. You feel yourself improved. And also, it's important to become attracted to that environment, that's where I want to be. I always noted that at these kind of festivals like we have at Vrindavan for Kartik, there's different layers. For instance, if you're around Vrindavan and you go to the programs, it's very sweet. But there's also a lot of social interaction when you walk around. Hey, where you been? How you been? Where do you live now? And things like that. And you can be investing 30% of your time doing that also. But there's a way in which you have to look for the card game in the back room. You know, the card players, they're always hiding out somewhere. And you have to knock on the door, and then there's a little trap door they open and go, what's the password? And then you say, Afghanistan, Bananistan. And then they open the door and let you in, and you can sit down and they'll deal you in for the card game. So there are incense-filled back rooms in devotional service also, and it's always helpful to look for those where there's a more intense desire to hear and chant going on, and try to gravitate towards those as much as possible, because the more we can sit in on that, the more we'll develop love for Krishna, as per this verse. What do you think of the theory? Okay. All right, let's read another verse. May we? It's the last one of the chapter. Those who drink through oral reception, fully filled with the nectarian message of Lord Krishna, the beloved of the devotees, purify the polluted aim of life known as material enjoyment, and thus go back to Godhead, to the lotus feet of Him, the personality of Godhead. Purport: the sufferings of human society are due to a polluted aim of life, namely lording it over the material resources. The more human society engages in the exploitation of undeveloped material resources for sense gratification, the more it will be entrapped by the illusory material energy of the Lord, and thus the distress of the world will be intensified instead of diminished. The human necessities of life are fully supplied by the Lord in the shape of food grains, milk, fruit, wood, stone, sugar, silk, jewels, cotton, salt, water, vegetables, etc., in sufficient quantity to feed and care for the human race of the world, as well as the living beings on each and every planet within the universe. The supply source is complete, and only a little energy by the human being is required to get his necessities into the proper channel. That's really nice. I can read it again. The supply source is complete, and only a little energy by the living being is required to get his necessities into the proper channel. I'd like to repeat that again and again. There is no need of machines and tools or huge steel plants for artificially creating comforts of life. Life is never made comfortable by artificial means. That's a good one too. But by plain living and high thinking. The highest perfectional thinking for human society is suggested here by Shukadeva Goswami, namely sufficiently hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. For men in this age of Kali, when they have lost the perfect vision of life, for men in this age of Kali, when they have lost the perfect vision of life, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the torchlight by which to see the real path. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada has commented on the Katamritam mentioned in this verse and has indicated Srimad Bhagavatam to be the nectarian message of the personality of Godhead. By sufficient hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, the polluted aim of life, namely lording it over matter, will subside, and the people in general in all parts of the world will be able to live a peaceful life of knowledge and bliss. Haribol. For a pure devotee of the Lord, any topics in relation with his name, fame, quality, entourage, etc. are all pleasing, and because such topics have been approved by great devotees like Narada, Hanuman, Nanda Maharaj, and other inhabitants of Vrindavana, certainly such messages are transcendental and pleasing to the heart and soul. And by the constant hearing of the messages of the Bhagavad Gita and later of Srimad Bhagavatam, one is assured herein by Srila Shukadeva Goswami that he will reach the personality of Godhead and render him transcendental loving service in the spiritual planet of the name Goloka Vrindavan, which resembles a huge lotus flower. Thus, by the process of bhakti yoga directly accepted, as suggested in this verse, by sufficient hearing of the transcendental message of the Lord, the material contamination is directly eliminated without one's attempting to contemplate the impersonal virat conception of the Lord. And by practicing bhakti yoga, if the performer is not purified from the material contamination, he must be a pseudo-devotee. For such an impostor, there is no remedy for being freed from material entanglement. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the second canto, second chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Lord of the Heart. Haribol. Sadhu, sadhu. So, just checking on the schedule. That's how they say in UK. We're going there next week, so I have to practice. We're doing the Damodarastakam this morning, correct? Yes? So that it's sometime around now or after the Guru Puja? Somebody will come running out and say. Hey, Hansapriya, I thought you'd come out. Have announcements, Guru Puja, and then Damodarastakam at the end? Yes. Okay, announcements, Guru Puja? Sorry. Announcements, Guru Puja. Yeah. Announcement, Damodarastakam, and then in the end we have Guru Puja. Is that okay? And then after that we have to because everyone has to leave early today? Yeah. Or you can do Damodarastakam now, and announcements. Announcements, Guru Puja, and then Damodarastakam. How's that? Okay. Now we have announcements. So the first announcement is coming from the Sankirtan team or from there. Let's welcome Malini Devi Dasi. Maybe you can come over on this side. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.
Hare Krishna. We have some really good news. If somebody has seen the Balaram room, sorry, was it Balaram room or Krishna? Balaram room. It is stacked up with books all the way to the roof. And if you want to go and chant, it's a very good place to chant. You can meditate upon distributing all the books. And amongst the books that we got the new edition of Srimad Bhagavatam printed in German. So whoever has pre-ordered long time ago, this is a chance we can actually fulfill all your requests and we can take. And we have lots of books stacked up, and our goal for the December marathon is book points. So every book counts. Small book, medium, large, mahabig, everything counts. So please meticulously take a note of the books that you're distributing, and then you can report it. And we will announce the goal, the book point goal tomorrow. But everything counts. And Arabic, we're focusing on Arabic also. And I just spoke to Anand Kishore Prabhu, and he's going to have a big plan to distribute all the Arabic books that we have. And we are doing Spanish as well. And we have Bhagavad Gita, Science of Self-Realization. There's no dearth of books. We have enough. And please go on distributing until the end of the year and beyond. Today's spots, some devotees are going to Santa Cruz, and the Western Sankirtan team, there's one team, Kautukarna Prabhu already left for traveling Sankirtan. We have teams that are going in San Ramon, Dublin, and we also have one in Cupertino. And there is also a protest that is going on for the Bangladesh devotees that is in Fremont starting from 12 to 2. So if you plan to go there, there are some do's and don'ts we have to follow. So please do read them and follow those rules, because it's not just the ISKCON devotees going there. There are other religious groups, other Hindu groups are coming there. So do not try to preach them or try to have an argument. It's a peace protest, so we should not express ourselves strongly. And if you want to distribute books during the protest, one team is going there. You can give them out, but the request is not to accept donations during the parade or during the protest. But once you reach the end at the Lake Elizabeth, there's a table set up there. There you can distribute and you can collect donations. But during the protest, please do not collect donations, because other Hindu organizations may think otherwise about us. So one team is going there to the protest. If you feel strongly about the protest, please join the Fremont group. Otherwise, you can join in one of the other locations today. That's all.
We have Spanish books?
Yes, Prabhu.
Did we get extra?
We stacked up in the book room, in that room, Balaram.
Just a reminder that it's easier to sell books in a foreign language when you don't know the language, because it's very straightforward. You go to the places where people speak the language, you offer them the book and a language card. There's a demonstration of that we have online, but all you have to do is hand them the book, hand them the card, and maybe a couple words in Spanish is okay, but distribute all the Spanish books, please. And there are plenty of Spanish-speaking people, even in our neighborhood and all over the Bay Area, so you can do huge. And I've talked to tens of thousands of Spanish-speaking people in my sojourn in the Sankirtan movement, and I can count on one hand how many people haven't taken a book. They're so nice. So if you want an easy time of it, and you want to distribute more books than you ever imagined possible, please get into the distribution of Spanish books. And the number two thing is, every single Arabic and Farsi book must go. Every single one of them. And by the way, they're double points. Do you like double points?
Yes.
Yeah, they're very good. So ask Supersoul and Ananda Krishna Prabhu how to do this, because we want to distribute all the Arabic and all the Farsi books. They should all go out. There should be like a huge spike in Arabic and Farsi distribution. If you know Farsi or Arabic-speaking people anywhere on the planet, then we can also call them up and send them orders of books, but everything must be cleared. Is that okay? Is it possible? Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, regarding the topic of the supersoul that you just mentioned, last weekend we went to the Cupertino Diwali Mela, and then we met this person. His name was Freedom. He is from the Nelson Mandela family, and Nelson Mandela had named him Freedom. And he was just walking in the Cupertino Diwali Mela in the park, and then there was Govind Prabhu was chanting the holy names, and he was just walking, and suddenly he just turned, and then he came towards the table, and then he mentioned that I saw that some energy pulled me in this direction, and we just showed him the Bhagavad Gita, and he immediately took out $40 and said, this is donation for Bhagavad Gita. And then I asked him, what do you do? He said, I'm a research scientist at Stanford. And then I said, why don't you take Srimad Bhagavatam? And then I just spoke to him like 2 or 3 lines, and I said, it's an encyclopedia. He said, I'll take it.
Wow.
And his car was parked very far, but I think Rampriya Prabhu helped him to load the books. And once he got the books, he sent a message saying, this is really great.
Oh, Haribol.
He felt that pull towards the books from within his heart. So these books are really powerful. So all we have to do is just display them, and then people will come and take. Thank you, Prabhu.
What a beautiful story! Amazing that the Mandela family had some relationship with Bhakti Tirtha Swami. He befriended him and everything. So it's a continuation. Still going on. That's a really big thing. Thank you.
We'll see if we can send books to Africa through him.
Let's do it. We want to get a pipeline, just like we have with India. We're opening pipeline to Africa, South America, or anywhere else you want, where we can open a big spigot and cover the place with Srila Prabhupada's books. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Okay. Now we have Jai Madhava Prabhu, I think, or are you going to give it?
I'm online.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All wishes to Prabhupada. I wanted to quickly give updates on Bhakti community this week. As you know, Bhakti community is an online community which helps newcomers come into Bhakti by introducing simplified Krishna consciousness to them. We had all the participants of book entry last week, Sankirtan, who all entered book scores. They all got blessings from Vaisesika Maharaj last week, where they all got gifts. So please continue to do so for Prabhupada Marathon as well, and do expect a prize at the end. Reach out to Santosh Prabhu in case you have any questions on how to do that.
Free gift for anyone who reports their scores through the new app.
Thank you.
Free gift.
And we will publish those people's names so that you can see the wall of fame. Next is Kamalinath Bhakti. It has been going very well. Prem Rupa Madhav Prabhu and Prem Rupani Madhav Mataji has been putting, and the entire team of Spanish community have been putting a lot of efforts. We had the Bhakti Circle this week, and 21 newcomers joined Bhakti Circle. And do we have Prem Rupa Madhav Mataji or Mother Prabhu and Mataji, no, we don't have. So basically, they sent this message, Hare Krishna, just to finish Comunidad Bhakti Circle, 21 newcomers. So I'm beginning to learn Spanish also in communicating with them. So thank you, Prabhu, for teaching me Spanish as well. And this is a newcomer's reflection, which Prema Prabhu received. Dear Prema, my gratitude for letting me share these beautiful moments with an open heart to receive your wisdom. Warm energies of kindness and love embrace me to make them reach those around me. Infinite thanks. Oh, we have Prema Prabhu and Mataji. Please share your experience and how the Spanish newcomers are receiving all the effort that you're putting in. Please.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Maharaj, Hare Krishna, Jai Madhava, and all the assembled devotees. Yeah, we are very, very happy. Like we are, this Tuesday will be the fourth Bhakti Circle, and you know, here in the Spanish speaking, we have from many parts of like Argentina, Mexico, Colombia, Chile, Uruguay, and Argentina, of course, and yeah, people are very open, this is wonderful. Bhakti community, this is wonderful because we can give them the opportunity. Is what all the Sankirtan devotees, we were waiting for years and years. You know, some way to follow up, to nourish new people. So thank you so much for giving us the opportunity.
Also, we are talking with a lot of devotees and kirtaneros about this project, and they are now inviting the people that they meet in the streets. So now in Mexico also they will start joining, and in different cities. And they are very happy because they can continue with like, developing the relation, and they can connect with Krishna.
And something very important is that they also can be part, because we invite them to facilitate the small groups. It's not like, okay, I share with you the contacts that I did. So they are the Sankirtan devotees, so the people are preaching, they are part also. So that's the main thing.
And because of your blessings and all the ISV devotees, like a lot of devotees are like joining in this project in different ways.
Working very hard.
Doing videos and a lot of things. And they are very, very happy. So thank you so much for encouraging us in this service.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Mata. It's a pioneering work. We are so grateful to you to actually put in so much effort and leading this. And we are so happy to see how many new souls are getting benefits. So thank you so much. Please continue. We will continue to pray and that you make progress and this spreads far and wide. Thank you so much, Prabhu Mataji. So that was Comunidad Bhakti. Next couple of reflections which received this week. Thank you so much to Srivas Pandit Prabhu who filled in who took Bhakti on this week, and it was very, very well received. It was an excellent class. And Kautukan Prabhu shared a couple of reflections. I enjoyed Srivas Pandit Prabhu's humor, wit and jovial nature so much. My favorite point was his comment on over-endeavoring. If you go to a hotel for vacation, why should we think about what color to paint the walls? It does not make sense. Similarly, why are we considering things outside of our nature, purpose during our material existence as a human being? Our occupation is simply to realize we have been provided a vehicle by which we can ask the most pertinent questions, by which we will find our higher purpose. This makes me ponder a lot about my purpose at this job in Dubai. I appreciate Srivas Pandit Prabhu's analogies so much. They really helped me. For example, when he said the impediments are like a red light, an abrupt stop. It helps me to visualize it in this way, because this means that the light can turn green again. So that's wonderful reflections which we received on Bhakti On as well as Bhakti Circle. So we'll continue the same series next week too. Bhakti On we'll have this Monday as well. Last week we had more than 40 participants. On Bhakti Circle again, we'll continue. We are on the spiritual relationship topics. We had more than 40 participants there. And spiritual fitness will continue as well. Idiom series we are going is currently underway. Last week yesterday we discussed right as rain. We are close to 70 participants. And Bhagavad Gita Women's Circle chapter 17 discussion will continue this Sunday. So I thank all the leaders who come in every week, make preparation, answer questions, and inspire all these newcomers. And you can see all the reflection that you see from those newcomers. So thank you so much for continuing to put in the effort. I also want to thank Sundarant Prabhu. Yesterday we had an opportunity to present to Sharat Prabhu, who has been very generous in sharing Bhagavad Gita with many newcomers. So he had an event, a personal event, or rather his company's event, where he had gotten his college reunion. So we had around 25-30 people who had come in, and Krishna Prabhu kindly came forward to give a class in Keys to Inner Happiness, which was very well received. So thank you, Sundaran Prabhu, for that. And we are conducting workshops. As part of Bhakti community last 1.5 years that we have been part of, we have learned many lessons and tips and best practices as we have been taking care of all the newcomers. So we're conducting certain workshops so that others can benefit from that as well, those who are interested. So we'll have Carrying Newcomers Heart workshop by Ananda Mataji and Pavani Bhakti Mataji, who will share how they have been working with newcomers, how they have helped them, and how together as a community newcomers have been taken care. As well as digital marketing workshop. We are finalizing the speakers for that, but we have learned a lot in this whole 1.5 year. So that best practices will also be shared. In case you're interested, please do email hi@bhakticommunity.com and we will send you the invite to those workshops. So those were the updates from Bhakti community this week. Thank you for the opportunity.
Stop light. The stop light one. Red light, green light. Sadhu, sadhu. Very well done. Now we have the opportunity to worship our founder, Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, wholeheartedly, because we have received and are receiving so many gifts from him at every moment. So we'll have this offering of flowers and a beautiful song to acknowledge his exalted position as passing on to the whole world the Krishna consciousness movement. So we'll put away this carpet and all the asans and open up a space, and then we'll sing the Guru Puja. We have one more announcement, though, about the cooks. We need a microphone.
Hare Krishna, today's prasadam is cooked by Hansa Priya Mataji, Shama Bhakta Prabhu, Divyanand Prabhu, Sadhu Vrindavan, and Bharat.
Just an yeah, just put it out there on the near the Gita or something.
Yeah.
Which one do you like?
Okay, let me check. Yeah. Because she has a gift shop. Yes. Thank you. Namashrishtam manamapi sachiputram atra svarupam Shrirupam tasyagrajam urupurim maturim goshtavatim Radhakundam girivaram ahoradika madhavasam Prapto yasya pratita kripaya Shri Gurum tam natosmi He Guru Jnana Dadina Bandho Svananda Data Karunaika Sindho Brindavana Asina Hitavatara Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachara He Dina Bandho Karunaika Sindho Kuru Prasadam Mai Mandamudhe Laksha Paradhe Bahupapagadhe Tatpada Padme Stumatischa Krishne. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Sachimata, the association of Srila Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami, and his older brother Sanatan Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kunda and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Shri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you're the giver of your own bliss, and you're the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudeva, you're the only ocean of mercy. I am a dull fool and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Bando Mui Savadana Mate Jahara Prasadhe Bahai Je Bhavatoriyo Jahai Krishna Prapti Hoy Ja Hoy Te Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Koriyo Akya Arna Koriyo Mane Asaha Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Yutama Gati Ye Prasade Pura Sarva Asaha Chakuran Diloje Jamiran Me Prabhu Se Dipe Gyamrine Prakasito Prem Bhakti Jahoite Avidya Vinasayate Vedhe Gayara Charito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Aramajanarabando Lokena Lokerajivana Aha Prabhu Goradaya Dehumure Palachaya Ebe Yaskushu Tribhuvana Prabhupada Patita Pavana Jayo Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishtaya, Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta, Swami Niti Namine. Jai Prabhupada.
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vasya Pyarasya Tarine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo! Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gola, gola. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Privakajaya Stotarasti Srimad Abhay Charanara Vinda Bhakti Vedanta Sai Maharaj Shilprabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privakajaya Stotarasti Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gokopina Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai Sambheda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Jai Gaur Premanande.
Translation? To the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge and bliss, whose shark-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautiful, shining in the divine realm of Gokula, who I, due to the offense of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mother was churning into butter and then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from a swing, is quickly running from the wooden grinding mortar in fear of Mother Yashoda, but who has been caught from behind by her, who ran after him with greater speed. To that Supreme Lord Sri Damodar, I offer my humble obeisances. Seeing the whipping stick in his mother's hand, he is crying and rubbing his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes are filled with fear, and the necklace of pearls around his neck, which is marked with 3 lines like a conch shell, is shaking because of his quick breathing due to crying. To the Supreme Lord Sri Damodar, whose belly is bound not with ropes, but with his mother's pure love, I offer my humble obeisances. By such childhood pastimes as this, he is drowning the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy, and is revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence, that he is only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbued with intimacy and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodar hundreds and hundreds of times. O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for the boon of impersonal liberation, nor the highest liberation of eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon which may be obtained by executing the 9 processes of bhakti. O Lord, I simply wish that this form of yours as Balagopal in Vrindavan may be manifest in my heart. For what is the use to me of any other boon besides this? O Lord, your lotus face, which is encircled by locks of soft black hair tinged with red, is kissed again and again by Mother Yashoda, and your lips are reddish like the bimba fruit. May this beautiful vision of your lotus face be manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me. O Supreme Godhead, I offer my obeisances unto you, O Damodar, O Ananta, O Vishnu, O Master, O my Lord, be pleased upon me. By showing your glance of mercy upon me, deliver this poor ignorant fool who is immersed in an ocean of worldly sorrows and become visible to my eyes. O Lord Damodar, just as the 2 sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nanukuvera, were delivered by the curse of Narada and made into great devotees by you in your form as a baby tied with a rope to a wooden grinding mortar. In the same way, please give to me your own prema bhakti. I only long for this and have no desire for any kind of liberation. Shri Damodarastakam ki jai, Shri Radha Damodar ki jai, Shri Kartik Vrat ki jai. Pardon? O Lord Damodar, I first of all offer my obeisances to the brilliantly effulgent rope which binds your belly. I then offer my obeisances to your belly, which is the abode of the entire universe. I humbly bow down to your most beloved Srimati Radharani, and I offer obeisances to you, the Supreme Lord, who displays unlimited pastimes. Sharira Vijaja Jyotindriya Tahika Jibe Pele Vishaya Shagare Dharma Jeti Boyati Lobu Moisu Durmati Taki Jeta Katita Shanchare Krishna Bodha Doyamoy Kori Bari Chihaja Shaprashad Annadiloba Shayanamrita Pao Radha Krishna Gunaka Premedako Shri Chaitanya Nihita Premedako Shri Chaitanya Nihita Mabjare Govinde Ramari Vaishnave Sapapunya Patam Rajan Vishwasho Naivajayate Prasade Sarvadhukanam Hanirasho Pajayate Pratsana Chetasho Yashu Uditaya Vitishtate Tayoka Vita Shakanda Vasavam Karpacharchitaha Utishta Bojino Dasa Tavamayam Jahimahi Varhapidam Daktavaravapukam Karnikaram Vibradvasa Kanaka Kapisham Vaijayantim Chamaram Randram Venor Adhara Sudaya Purnayam Gopavindai Vrindaranyam Swapada Ramanam Pradishadvita Kiti Tavakatam Ritam Tapta Jivanam Kaviviritam Kalmashapaham Shavanamangalam Srimadatakam Guvigranantiye Buridajana Krishna Kirtana Prananatanakala Pato Jani Brajita Sadbhakta Bali Amsachakra Matupa Sheni Viharaspadam Karnanandikaladvani Vahatu Me Jiva Marupangane Shri Chaitanya Dayani Tetavalasa Lila Sudasadini Kelon Dhunita Kedaya Vishadaya Pramila Ramodaya Shamyat Shastra Vivadaya Rasataya Chikapito Madaya Shashrad Bhakti Vinodaya Samataya Madhuya Maya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Daya Niteta Vadaya Bhuya Ramando Daya Yakoma Parasa Eva Hibaras Ta Eva Chaitra Shapas Ekoni Lipta Malati Surapaya Praudha Kadamba Nila Sajai Vasnita Kapita Trasurata Yapara Lila Vida Deva Rodasi Veda Sita Vitale Cheta Samkantate Shri Vishnu Shavane Parishirabhavad Vaisesika Kirtane Kaladasmanane Tarangri Vachane Smi Pritu Pujane Akurasavi Vandane Kapipate Dasyeta Sakye Duna Tavasta Maniye Dane Valirabu Chiretam Bhada Aradyo Bhagavan Vadesha Tanaya Tatama Vrindavana Gamya Tachirupasana Vrajavidu Vargena Yakalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramana Mamalam Premar Bhumato Maha Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam Tatradarana Pada Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matamidam Tatradarana Pada Go Premanande Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Please come take prasadam. Hari. Panchakoptarusha Kripasindhabevacha Patitanam Bhavnibhyo Vishnabhibhyo Namo Namaha.